7 is status of the Citizens for Detroit Future submitting a report relative to the initiative to provide for the immediate posting of Detroit election results. Motion to discuss.
So moved.
Law Department, good morning. Attorney, how are you?
Good morning,
Good.
Mr. Chair.
You have something for us?
Actually, I have Mr. Toaz for
Wonderful.
you.
All
This
right.
was one of his assignments. He'd like to approach the
Wonderful.
table.
All right. Good morning, Attorney. If you can introduce yourself for the record.
Sure. Mark Toaz, Law Department.
All right. Attorney Toaz, you have some feedback on this report?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Go right ahead.
Based on our review of the charter and the city code, it appears that this initiative has been filed and has had the proper signatures. And unfortunately, given Article 12, Section 107, we only had 60 days with which to enact an ordinance to avoid this going on the next available election cycle.
Okay.
We still have some options available to us if we would like to consider the substance of this initiative. We could independently review the substance of the initiative and possibly put forth an ordinance on our own and see if that would satisfy the petitioners.
Okay.
But at this juncture, it's very clear that that the petition, we have 60 days after the filing date with which to enact an ordinance based on the initiative as it's written. So
Okay.
we didn't have any opportunity to make amendments or anything, and the 60-day period ends on Monday.
So would they have to collect signatures again?
Mr. Chair, no, they have the appropriate number of signatures
Okay.
to get it on the ballot as it stands today. So once that period ends on the 27th, it will be ripe to go to the election commission.
Got it. Got it.
At which time they will review the legality of it. They aren't going to go line by line, but they'll look at the signatures and whether or not it's an appropriate question to be brought before the voters.
Now, help me out, Attorney. If they have the signatures for it to go on the ballot, there's no election this year. Next year's the next general election. So, but in the meantime, could we prepare an ordinance in the meantime, if need be?
We certainly could.
Okay.
And, it wouldn't automatically remove the question from the ballot.
Okay.
That being said, it may convince the petitioners that the council is serious about the matter and
Okay.
have them consider revoking it.
Okay. All right. Member Ayers, any questions?
I do have a quick question.
Yes, ma'am.
Because I think this is definitely an important step that they're taking. My question is, how does that affect either positively or adversely with the clerk's budget? Because do they have the right amount of money to staff in order to get those results out? Because I do think the results come slow. So I would like to know how that works. But you don't have to. If you don't have to answer right now. But.
Through the chair, we could certainly explore that through if you'd like to pursue an ordinance for us to draft on our own, we could certainly do the research with LPD and get together and find out what the best practices are. My understanding is that this would not create any additional responsibilities on the clerk's office other than printing an additional tape if there was a malfunction in the tabulation of the votes in the middle of the election day, but it would certainly behoove us to review all the options and make sure we had every base covered if we were to pursue an ordinance on our own.
Okay. I see Mr. Tom Barrow here. You want to come forward, Mr. Barrow? I know you're leading this initiative, and I know you're here. I'll give you just a little. Come to the table, Mr. Barrow. I don't want you to wait till public comment. I'll give you just a little bit extra time here to briefly.
Good morning.
Nice to meet you.
If you could introduce yourself on the record, Mr. Barrow.
Certainly. Thank you very much,
Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
Member Ayers. Tom Barrow is my name. I'm the president of Citizens for Detroit's Future. It is our organization who drafted this petition, this initiative, pursuant to the city charter. We did work closely with other parties to assure, as Member Ayers raised, any budgetary considerations. And as council knows, in the holding by the Court of Appeals and the Coalition for Safer Streets, any cost could very well be associated with anything.
Right.
The question is whether or not it is de minimis cost. And here you only have to print a second tape anytime a tape is printed out. As council pointed out, this this city council's opportunities are merely to either enact it as an ordinance or to pass it over to put it onto the ballot. As he also pointed out, because we were notified and council was notified on May 28th, July 27th is the date, after which, of course, we would be, the council would be in violation of the city's charter. So I certainly appreciate the opportunity to address it, and I think we've made clear that council's positions and capabilities are pretty succinct under the city's charter, and there are only two, and I think council pointed those out in being able to do it. So I certainly appreciate your courtesies, Mr. Chairman, for allowing me to be able to speak, Member Ayers for permitting me to be able to speak, and we would certainly hope that the City Council would get this back and enact this ordinance and put it to bed, because it's something that came from the people of the City of Detroit.
And Mr. Barrow, I would think, looking at timelines, if council moved forward and had law and LPD draft a report for us, an ordinance might be quicker than putting it on the ballot. Because if you put it on the ballot next year, it wouldn't take effect until the next election in 17. So it's pushing your timeline back even further. An ordinance will and Mr. Torres, you can help me if I'm wrong, an ordinance now from council will allow this to take effect for next year's elections to get this initiative rolling then.
Well, I don't know if that's accurate. I don't know if council will agree with me. If council, I'm kind of mixing those words,
go
council
ahead.
and council, but you'll figure out which one I mean. If and maybe council will agree with me, if the city council enacts it, it becomes law right now.
That's what I said.
And then would go into effect, just as a city ordinance is the way that we read.
But if we wait for you to put it on the ballot, there's no election this year. The next election not till 16.
Well, if you don't vote to enact it, it will automatically move to the next step to put it on the ballot. So
Right.
I'm certainly open, and I think our group would be open if council has a proposed ordinance that would not be inconsistent with what the people have indicated. We would certainly be amenable to, from a reasonableness point of view, taking a look at that.
Attorney Torres?
Through the chair, we certainly would have had the option for, if we would have voted to enact this today, we would have the option for it to be available for next year. Unfortunately, since we didn't note this for public hearing,
Right.
we'd be in violation of the charter if we tried to enact it today. So the only possible way would be to allow it to get onto the ballot and potentially work it out so we could have another option at our own option.
With the ordinance.
And if we met Mr. Barrow's satisfaction, he could then withdraw the proposed initiative, and that would, certainly be something we would have to work with Mr. Barrow.
I'm confused. I don't understand is what he just said.
Well,
not that I'm not sharp enough to get it.
well, right now is what he's saying is your petition is in process to be on the ballot for next year. And if we vote for it
And
next year,
under Section 4, if you were to enact it, I guess what he's saying is under Section 4, 115 and 118, you'd have to have the hearing, et cetera, et cetera.
Any order to the
enact
public
it.
hearing, right.
And if that's what you're saying, and you couldn't do that, obviously, within this very limited time, then, of course, a direct city ordinance would, of course, make it much quicker.
That's what I said
in
before.
order to
You
do
said
it.
the same thing I
If
just
that's what
said
he
5
just
minutes ago.
said,
Yeah.
if that's what he just said, then I kind of grasp it in the circuitous.
I said the same thing 5 minutes ago. It's quicker for council to get it done with an ordinance than to put on the ballot. So we're with you. So, Mr. Barrow, we're going to bring this back after recess, and then we will. Is there a motion to have law and LPD get a report together for us? Pro Tem.
We did that in Ways and
Rules
Budget and
Committee?
Audit. It came to Budget and Audit last week also, and we asked for a report.
So this is a dual referral.
Yes, we asked for a report
Those
from,
devilish dual referrals are hitting us again.
yeah.
1 second, Attorney Long. Pro Tem, are you done?
Just to say that we did make a request for an opinion because we were concerned that even though this is a city initiative, we know that we can't violate state law as it relates to elections. And,
Well, I think.
Hold on, Mr. Barrow. Mr. Barrow, hold on. Mr. Rotem Cushionberry.
and so we were waiting for the report there.
Okay. Attorney Long, you want to speak up to that report?
Statement as to what the law findings were. I did want to indicate that rather than ask the law department to draft a report, I think perhaps what this committee would like is for the law department to draft a proposed ordinance. And at that point, as we're sifting through the parts of what Mr. Barrow has in his, and we can look at how maybe the language could be improved, or if there's any alterations that may need to take place. This body could then consider that.
The reason I asked for a report is, as Pro Tem said, I don't want you to begin drafting an ordinance and we realize we can't do it if we're violating state law. So I think, wouldn't that, would a report be feasible first before we go to an ordinance?
Certainly, and if I may, Mr. Chief.
Yes, sir.
To Member Cushingberry, we have done some preliminary research into state law as it pertains to this item. There isn't any specific state law that suggests that this would be in violation or contravening to that. We can certainly do more research on that to be absolutely certain, but based on the research that I've done thus far, the state election law does speak to voting machines in depth, but it does not refer to the tapes in particular. In which case, I do believe that we would be within our rights to regulate them. It'd just be a matter of making sure that we did it the right way.
Okay. Pro Tem, anything else, sir? Member Ayers? All right. So we will come back. Let's prepare for, after recess, Mr. Toaz, to begin the process of drafting an ordinance. Where are you and your committee with this, Pro Tem?
We're just waiting for the written reports.
That Mr. Toaz gave a written report that he gave today? Written of the report he gave today?
No, I'm said, we asked both LPD and the law department for a report, so.
Mr. Toaz, and you have that prepared for budget and finance?
Unfortunately, this is the first time hearing of it, Mr. Chair, but we could certainly draft a written report that has the spirit of.
Well, we've had this issue before. Let's stay on par with budget and finance. So we will wait to get your report, the same report you're going to give to budget and finance. We'll get that same report, and we'll be on. Yes, Attorney Long.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chair.
That's okay.
Member Cushionberry sat in for you last week.
Yes, ma'am.
I don't recollect this being in BFA. He may have requested that last week in this particular committee.
Okay.
I believe
Skip
that
that speech then. Skip the speech, same committee. He works that hard. He thinks it's the same committee. Can we do that for this committee then, Attorney Toaz? Just bring that back after recess.
Absolutely, Mr.
And then we'll begin the process, Mr. Barrow, going through the doors, all right?
I'm confused again.
Don't need to be confused. They're going to bring back, we want to have in writing what he just said for all the members to be able to read through it.
And so when will this come back before council?
In September, at this
And
meeting.
at that stage, what comes back? Does an ordinance comes back?
No,
Wait a minute.
no. We're going to get a report from, he's giving a verbal of 3 members here. We have 6 others that have to vote for it.
That's
So
right.
slow the process down first. So we're gone in August. He's going to bring a report back of what he said and maybe some more added to it. Council members will read that report, and then we'll begin the process of drafting an ordinance, and then a public hearing takes place. But whatever we do, it's still going to be quicker, Mr. Barrow, than
Got you.
going through.
I'm with you.
They're going through, okay.
So
Go
this
ahead.
comes back in September?
Yes.
Do you know what date in September, so we can be here?
We'll let you know for sure. I'll let you know.
Then that's good
I
enough
won't
for
do
me.
it. I won't do it without you,
That's
Mr.
good
Barrow.
enough for me.
All right. Mr. Toys, you good?
All set, Mr.
Member
Chair.
Ayers and Pro Tem, you okay? We'll look for your report, Attorney Toys. Thank you, sir, for your help. Mr. Barrow, thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.